are really invested into. She had a lot of evidence that went along with this. I saw she had chipped her tooth. She had bruises on her. I know that there is a custody situation here. And I will say this, particularly when...
What's up, everybody, and welcome back to another episode. Please like the video and subscribe. Our target is only 1,000 likes. So in an official statement shared on his Instagram stories, in the early hours of Friday, DDG announced that Halle Bailey and he have decided to go their separate ways after 3 years of relationship. It read, "Dear friends and supporters, after much reflection and heartfelt conversations, Halle and I have decided to go our separate ways. The decision was not easy, but we believe it's the best path forward for both of us." He continued, "I cherish the time we've spent together and the love we shared. Despite the changes in our relationship, our love for each other remains deep and true. We are still best friends and adore each other." Then said, "As we focus on our individual journeys and roles as co-parents, we cherished the bond we've built and beautiful moments we've shared. As we navigate this transition, we ask for your understanding and support."
Are really invested into. She had a lot of evidence that went along with this. I saw she had chipped her tooth. She had bruises on her. I know that there is a custody situation here. And I will say this, particularly when there is custody stuff that happens, you see these types of allegations made, because when there is a custody case between two people, they are going to bring up the worst things that they can say about the other person in order to make the case to the judge about why they should have custody of the kid. We've seen this before.
I don't know if I like the way you're phrasing it.
That's true.
I wouldn't say that they're bringing up the worst things. I think that it might just be, they're obviously horrible things. I guess I would just say it in, they're saying things that they never said before, right? There's a reason that she has to seek sole custody, which she was granted. In addition to the temporary restraining order, she was also granted in this time sole custody of the child. But it's not bringing up the worst things like, I'm just trying to prove up my case. It's bad things have happened. It's gotten to the point where now I have to go public with it in order to protect myself, and in this case, my child.
Well, that depends on whether or not you believe. Let me tell you why I say what I'm saying.
Okay.
Like, I worked at TMZ for 9 years, right? Like a long, long time. I say that all the time. And so I saw all of these types of cases. And I'm not just talking about from the lady to the guy. I'm talking about from the guy to the lady. Like, from the guy to the lady, this woman is a terrible mother. She's never around for the kid. She's always out working. She takes the kid to places where she parties and does drugs and gets high and does all of that stuff. Jenny and Jeezy, right? Jenny and Jeezy. All right. They're going through a divorce. Now, it's not me and Jeezy are happy or whatever. He's a good father. Let's do this. It's Jeezy is walking around the house with an AK-47. Jeezy is all this. So, and then from his standpoint, it's going to be like, she's consumed with this. She's consumed with that. She's a liar. It's infidelity, all of that. I'm talking about in the grander scheme of things, not looking into these people's relationship and saying who is right and who is wrong. I'm saying typically when custody is at the center of something like this and there's a breakup and there's a kid involved, and particularly when it's two public figures, what you start getting from each of them is how terrible the other person is. And so, like, when I kind of see this stuff in the custody case, it doesn't make me say that it's any less true, but I have to be honest that I've seen a lot of this. And in seeing it, that's typically the way that it comes out.
Well, you can bring up things on both sides where it's like you just don't know, right? That's what this says, which is why you started off saying like there's not a lot to say or you don't really know, because we're just getting the information that she's putting in this temporary restraining order, which is like she needs relief immediately, which was granted, and she submitted evidence. Her evidence, the judge agreed, awarded her full custody. I believe until July 2nd is when the next thing is going to happen. But you brought up the age thing and saying like you don't really know that much about them or this couple because they're 20 years younger than you. And I think what's sad is that when I look at the things that are surrounding that we do know so far, it's like, it doesn't matter if you're 45 or you're 25. It's like the same stuff over and over again. You don't know what goes on behind closed doors with people's relationship. This was a couple that was praised. You know, he's big in the streaming community, millions and millions of followers. When they got together, A Little Mermaid had not come out yet, but she was filming it in the process of it. Her star has only gotten bigger and bigger. Color Purple, Little Mermaid, so many opportunities. And it seems like their relationship began to deteriorate after that. Don't know why. Don't know. Can only assume certain things because we don't know what goes behind closed doors. But the other thing that is sad is the damage that's being done, I would say, to her reputation in the streaming community. You have, once again, it seems like, and it doesn't matter if you're 45 or 25, it's like man versus woman. You've got, and we don't know what's true and what's not true, but you've got immediately this comes out, becomes public. DDG is on a streaming,
He's streaming with Aiden Ross.
Is streaming with Aiden Ross.
Yeah.
When he gets this information, convenient. And immediately, Aiden Ross is coming to his support, demonizing Halle, demonizing the situation, and automatically, without knowing anything, believing DDG. And he's not the only one. You had a lot of men in the streaming community, which is male dominated, automatically saying, we believe DDG, we stand by him. And that shouldn't be the response. And it happens no matter what age you are. You automatically see people take sides and it becomes a gender wars thing. When the reality of the situation is, this is a relationship that has gone bad for whatever reason. And there's a child involved at the end of the day, a young child, which is what makes this sad. And you kind of could see, like, if I do go back, one thing I do remember, we don't know a whole lot, but I do remember DDG coming out, using his streaming platform, millions of people, to say that he's not able to see his son. And then all these people started developing opinions about Halle, about their relationship, and it became super negative. And now this is coming out. And what I would say is, I would like for this to not be, it will be, because it already is, thought out in the court of public opinion, and let these people handle their relationship and do what's best for their child, because it's done for them, it seems like. But how can this child grow up in a healthy household with two parents? That's what needs to happen.
I want to say two things. You don't feel like you did what you just did a second ago, what you accused Aiden Ross of doing?
That I said what? That he went on his streaming platform?
I said, in the situation, when I hear things like this and they're bad things, but I typically expect to hear the worst things about somebody when there's a custody battle that's happening. And then it seemed like your posture was, well, you're not hearing it because of that. You're hearing it because she's got to do what she can do to save herself and her child, which essentially seems like you're saying that all of the allegations that she's making are true, right?
No,
so what I was essentially saying there was, hey, it doesn't surprise me that in this type of situation where there's a custody battle type of thing, that you're hearing about all of this stuff, because if there was anything like that or anything that was going on, this is the time when they tell you why we're not together. I'm sure he's going to come out and say that she's some kind of terrible mom. That's not me saying that none of this stuff happened. I'm saying that she's a terrible mom. She had the baby here. She has the baby here. She's doing all of this. She's doing all of that. I'm sure all of that stuff's going to happen. When him and his friends are getting together, those are the people that know him. They don't care about like what the truth of this situation is. They care about making him like look good. So
I think it's also, when I look at those guys and their history, they also are about like just making man look good, period. Like that's like the streamers that have come out and said something, like the academics, and I don't even know the other names, but like they have a typical Aiden Ross. They have a history of man over everything, which is, I would say, was a little deeper than just being a friend to him. But to the original point that you made, I think after my pushback, the way you explained it gave more context to it. I just had an issue with you saying they're going to bring out the worst of each other, because it to me gave an implication of just trying to bring out something bad to fluff it up. But then you explained it even more, and I don't have any issue with that. It's just the way you worded it at first. I just like wanted to change the narrative a little bit.
Well, the point is, when people get into this thing is when, and then what's going to happen? Okay, so let's go back to another case. Let's go back to the case of Keke Palmer. And,
I knew you would bring that up.
Right. All of this stuff, it's public. It's all of this. This is not to say that none of that stuff happened. What's to say is you have a public relationship. And this is why, to your point, do not get too involved in these public relationships. There's no such thing as couples goals. The goal for every couple should be the individual, back and forth, communicative, loving, participatory relationship that is defined and nurtured and cultivated by two people. And there should be no couple that you look to for any type of inspiration. Because when you get into interpersonal relationships, male, female, male, male, female, female, whatever dynamics, there are so many things that go into them, and you just have no idea.
Well,
and so in that situation, I remember there was a time when people were praising Darius for like holding the baby while Keke Palmer was out doing her thing. Then it came out, maybe that nigga didn't like holding the baby that much. And now it's the whole thing, but they get to a point to where they have to parent together and fix everything after it's gone public. And now people are disappointed in either Keke or him because they're doing what they were always going to do, which is find a way to co-parent. In this situation, DDG and Halle Berry made their relationship very public. People believed something about it. He was buying her stuff for birthdays. They was getting it was all great. Look at the presents that they get each other. Look how they love on each other. Now you find out it wasn't such roses and chocolates, and you're disappointed because you've overindulged into the PR that they made you believe about their relationship.
Correct. The PR, the public persona, the image is what I'm living proof of it. You know, no child's involved, but I totally understand that, you know, you, as authentic and as real as you may be, there's certain things that you have to protect and preserve for the nature of your relationship. So I totally understand that the image that you present may not be what it actually is. Doesn't mean that it was always that case, right? Like in my example, it was fine at one point and then it took a turn. Am I going to start now showing that turn? No, I'm going to try to preserve the relationship. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. Now, I also know, to your point, what I was pushing back on, I also know when you're trying to win something in court or you're trying to prove something, I've been on the end of it where there were falsehoods. But not that you were saying that that's what's happening, but I've seen it to where there were falsehoods put in court documents in orders. That's why it's like you can't really speak to what.
That's what I was saying. I was saying people are going to say the worst thing, and sometimes they're going to lie. So you know that they. Yeah.
I said to your point, but I was just saying the way that the phrasing. I wasn't disagreeing with you. I was just like trying to like change the way that it was phrased. But I have been a part of it where I'm like, that is not true. That is actually a lie. You're saying that so you can get the most from this court situation. It's all very messy. It's all very hard. It's all case by case. I think the one thing that we can all agree on is that a child is involved, and that should be what the focus is and what we should be protecting.